coming out this evening. I'm Mary Jo Hardiman, and I am the project manager for the Middle Waves Festival. So if you are here for Middle Waves orientation as a volunteer, you are in the right place. So real quick show of hands, how many of you have volunteered at Middle Waves in the past? One, okay. What year do you remember?
Last year.
Last year. Do you remember what you did?
I did the art in the beginning and then I did merch last night.
Okay, yep, so you did the Creative Art Zone and merch. Wonderful, we're glad to have you back. A couple quick housekeeping notes, just so you're aware. Restrooms are right through there, right behind you. So, get up, help yourself. There's plenty of food and drink in the back. We do have this being recorded, not because this is any type of commercial or promotion, but we actually have volunteers coming from all over the Midwest.
Wow.
So it's a little bit tricky to drive in just for an evening if you're not from our area. So that's the only reason why Ben Roney, our technical director, is here recording. So, hi Ben. Yes. Many of you have probably heard from Kathy Marburger. She is our special projects assistant, and she helps keep everything organized when it comes to volunteers. So for Middle Waves, it takes about 75 volunteers to be able to make sure that we have the festival experience that we're wanting everybody to have. So just to get us started a little bit, I want to show you a video from last year so you know what you're getting into. So this was last year's festival at Headwaters Park. We will be returning to Headwaters Park. So just sit back, relax, and it's just a quick 50-second video. And as you'll see, that's the pavilion. This year we will be back in the pavilion. So I'll get more into that in just a little bit. But for those of you that don't know the history about Middle Waves, this is actually the 10th year for Middle Waves. It was founded by a group of volunteers here in Fort Wayne in 2016. The first few festivals were presented down at Headwaters Park. Then they moved away from Headwaters Park, and they were actually getting ready to present over at Electric Works, and then the pandemic hit. So that year they were not able to present at Electric Works because of the pandemic, and so then coming out of the pandemic, they were able to present the festival. The volunteers were at Follinger Theater. And then, as you can imagine, you're all volunteers. When you have dedicated volunteers who also have a lot of other jobs and families in their lives, you start to get tired. And they did not have paid staff working on Middle Waves. And they said in order for it to continue on, we want it to continue on, we're going to have to put a team of staff behind Middle Waves. And it just so happened that Embassy Theater at the time was looking for a way to really carry on the Embassy Theater's history forward, because we're almost 100 years old, and it was, how do we get and attract more diversity, more inclusivity, and a younger demographic into this building that we're in. And it just so turns out that as we started looking at what could we do, we happened to have a conversation with Middle Waves volunteers, and they said, yes, we are looking for a home. We want this music festival to succeed. We were not able to do it for a couple of years with the pandemic. We did it at Follinger, and now we're ready to pass it on. So, and you all have a packet here, so I won't go too much into the history, But in your volunteer guide, I did put a bit of history so you know how special Middle Waves is. So in 2022, Embassy and Middle Waves, we got together and the volunteers said, we are willing and ready to hand over Middle Waves Festival to the Embassy. So they were able to hand that over to us. We acquired it, and then some of their volunteers have stayed around and stayed on board to ensure that I have everything that I need and the embassy does so we can continue to build that momentum. So in June of 2023, we presented a very small hype event over at Parkview Field, and it was a way just to really connect the two brands, so the embassy and the Middle Waves together. So we presented that in June of 2023, and then in June of 2024, we were able to move forward and present over at Parkview Field. Parkview Field is a wonderful space. Nothing negative from that experience, other than you have to wait for Major League Baseball's schedule to come out every year, which was a little bit tricky in the festival world. And that I couldn't wait until that schedule came out. So after we presented it in June of 24 at Parkview Field, we said, where do we want to go with this festival? The one thing I will say is really important about Middle Waves is we always listen to the community. So we did a survey, and it went out far and wide. We had great response, and we said, where would you like to see Middle Waves home? Where would you like to see it in the future? And overwhelmingly, the response is in the heart of downtown, and we would like to see it at Headwaters Park. So return to Headwaters Park. So last year, that was the big challenge. We were used to just moving across the street from the embassy to Parkview Field, but now we have to go 5 minutes to the north. What is that like? Our production team, Ben, leads that. We are so used to having night after night, show after show, truck after truck, but what is it like to pack up a tour and end up the street putting together a festival that also you're going to turn around and load out on the same night? So that was our challenge to learn. So last year we learned, we had, as you can see, we had a great event. It was a wonderful festival, and we ended up with 25% more tickets sold than last year. So you came in at 1,525. This year we are planning for 1,700, but my goal is 2,000 because 2,000 is capacity under the pavilion. Okay, but a little sneak peek into the next upcoming years. Next year we'll continue with just a one-day festival, but in 2028 we will move to a 2-day festival. So we're growing. That's the whole goal for Middle Waves, to become sustainable and for this to really become the community's festival, but also largely the Midwest. So when I define the Midwest, I'm talking all the way over to Omaha, Nebraska, and then to the east towards Pittsburgh. So hopefully over the next 5 years, as we continue to grow this, we will really end up being that Middle Waves Midwest indie music scene. So again, you have your volunteer guide and you'll have your history on that. So that brings us to today, and I'm just going to bring up this guide so we can all have it, because sometimes I don't like to look at things in front of me. I'd rather see it on the screen. So let me just X out of here real quick. And I will just bring our guide up real quick. Yep. So this year, there is one day of a festival, which is June 6th, and load-in is on June 5th. So we load into Headwaters Park on Friday, June 5th, and we will start in the morning. Typically, I'll get there about 7 a.m., and we do have volunteer shifts. If you are more leaning towards, I want to help with load-in, which I'll explain here in a minute. that would be more of an arrival time of 9 a.m. or throughout the day. And if you're like, you know what, I am not your load-in type of person, you don't want me decorating, you don't want me setting up stuff, you don't want me helping put everything where it needs to go, then you would be on the festival day. And I know that Kathy has put together different signups with different shifts, and you marked when you're available. And I have all of that information here, because what will happen, just so you're aware, after today, I will start really looking at this and lining up with what is the best place for you to help us out with. So as you're aware, she had mentioned last year she volunteered for 2 shifts. She worked in our art zone, so we have a creative art zone, and then she also flipped and she sold merchandise, Middle Ways merchandise and band merchandise that evening. So I do have all of your time slots and what you're available for, and then what will happen is I will put that whole schedule together, and then I will give it to Kathy, and then Kathy will be the ones to follow up with each of you just to confirm, hey, I'm still on board to, you know, sell tickets, or I'm still on board to sell merch, or whatever the volunteer opportunity would be. Okay? So we try to make it really organized and simple in that aspect. So we do have a couple of things that is important when it comes to volunteering at the festival. And the first one is, let me back up. In your guide, I talk about core values, volunteer core values. It's on the 2nd page. And it talks about go hard, the Middle Waves way. We do try to go hard. For example, I'll be there the whole time. So I'll be there from load in all the way to, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning of load out. But we also want to make sure that we're taking care of each other. So a little bit about go hard, grind. It's all about the energy. I tell staff this, and it's important for volunteers. If you're not having fun at the festival, then festival goers aren't going to have fun. So I try to have fun. We all try to have fun while we're working at the festival. It's important. Last year was great. There was a whole vibe, I would say. I don't know if you would say the same thing. It was fun. The time went by so quick. It was magical, and it was a lot of fun, a lot of energy, and we do take care of each other. Opportunity. There's a lot of different ways to help out with the festival, and really whether it's what you think is maybe a smaller task, those smaller tasks, those are the details. They're just as important as the company that's bringing in the stage. So every opportunity and every task matters. Again, it's all about positive vibes. We want to make sure that you're taken care of, that our guests are taken care of. And then of course there's always adapting through adversity. It could be a weather situation that we have to adapt to. It could be a number of things, and live entertainment, anything is possible. So we want to make sure that we're confident. I would just ask that you stay flexible and that you're ready to roll with us. Respect. It's really important that this festival shows kindness and empathy to everyone that comes in. This isn't a festival where, you know, we want to, you know, have people leave in a way that they don't feel like they've been heard or that they haven't had fun. We just really want to show appreciation. And it's our goal that we treat everyone from the artists on the main stage to you, the volunteers, to our paid staff, and to all of the different vendors. We want to make sure that everybody walks away with that similar kind of kindness, and that you feel like, you know, we built this together. So community is important to us. Lastly, dedication, determination, and drive. There is a method to all of this Middle Waves madness. We work on it year-round. So as you're working, if you see things that you're like, you know, this could be done better next year, I want to know about that type of stuff too, because that's the only way we can start to become more efficient, is if I hear from each of you. So I will follow up afterwards and just collect your thoughts and say, you know, How was your experience? Was there anything that you were noticing that we could do better the next time? Also on here, we talked about dress code. So with our dress code, obviously I'm wearing my little waist team shirt. It does look different than last year. Last year's was blue with pink. This year's we decided to go more with our middle waist green. So you'll have your t-shirt, which you have tonight. We always have extras at the park. So if something happens between now and festival day, please don't stress, we have you covered. We will have those available for you. Most important things for that day is June 6th, 5th or 6th. It could be hot, or I don't know, it could be last week I had my winter jacket out. We just don't know here in the Midwest what it could be. But please, you know, if it's hot and you want to wear shorts, wear your shorts. If you're like, it's chilly, it's cold, wear your pants. Just make sure that you have something that's comfortable. Depending on the area that you're working in, for example, if you're in the creative zone, you're going to get glitter on you. So you're going to get paint on you. So just know that don't wear your best outfit because you're going to get something on you. If you're more, I'm more equipped to build things and help with like the installations that we're bringing in and our different scenes. We're all about making a scene, creating a scene. If you're putting together something and there's a chance that, you know, you're going to sweat and you're going to be building something, then again, you're going to want to wear something that's handy and has pockets and you can put tools and things like that. We bring all of that, but just know you're going to want to wear something like that. Your feet, please make sure that you wear something comfortable on your feet. The day before Middle Waves is not the day to go out and buy a new pair of shoes because you will have blisters if you get a new pair of shoes. Also, I do ask that you wear closed-toed shoes just in case, you know, something gets dropped on your foot, God forbid. We just want to make sure, sometimes the bees are out, we have a plan for that. Just try to make sure that you wear something closed-toed shoes. I always bring extra socks. Socks are your best friend, so if you are doing multiple shifts, if you're doing longer than maybe a 3-hour shift, maybe pack some extra socks just so you can change those out real quick. It just helps. I would say, you know, keep your biker shorts at home. Keep other things that might, shorts that might rip and stuff, even though it's a festival and you can cut up your t-shirt and stuff. The worst is when you're trying to do like a physical activity and now you have a hole in your shorts. So just, you know, be mindful of that. Any questions about the dress code?
So we can cut the sleeves off the t-shirt.
You can, yeah. I have people that will cut their t-shirts and put like, make it like fringy, you know, let the fringe hang out. Some people like to roll up their sleeves, cut their sleeves, you know. It's a festival, so it's all about the look, it's all about the vibe and what you're comfortable with. It's art, so have fun with it. I will say that I will have sunscreen available for everybody, even though the majority of the festival is underneath the pavilion. There are different parts of the festival that are outside of those areas. So Radiant Dermatology was gracious enough to provide us with lots of sunscreen for different types of skin, so that will be nice. I will have bug spray. I always have our first aid kits, Band-Aids. Hats are okay, so if you want to wear, you know, a hat, I know Ben, you always have like a boating hat on here. Visors are cool if you want to keep your you know, covered up that way. For hair, you know, you might want to tie it back, but I will have hair tinsel. So if you want to get into hair tinseling your hair, come a little early and you can tinsel up your hair and have fun that way as well. So I do try to make sure that we are covered in all of the different ways. Moving on to shifts and the different shifts that we have. Again, build day is Friday, June 5th. So that's the day that we unload everything. We build the festival, we set up items, and we decorate. My goal that day is to be out of the park by 6 p.m. so we can all go home, rest, and then our lighting designers can come in overnight. And when it's dark, and they can get the light show all ready to go for the next day. Also, I do have security overnight at the festival, so if you are on that build day, and you had to leave something, I do have overnight security. It's locked, plus we have people there that are up the whole time, so everything's safe and secure. And then we get to show day. Show day is a busy day because we start sound checking in the morning with our headliner. So while we are sound checking, we are doing the final setup. So how might that look? Well, last year it looked like we all went away for the evening and then we came in the morning. And every now and then there's just one of those winds that pick up in Fort Wayne overnight. So now all of my great installations might not look as good as they did when I left the night before. So then we work on, hey, let's set this up again, or, oh, we can, do a little bit better over here. Also, in that kind of morning time frame, around 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, that's when you will see a lot of our vendors come in. So we have local vendors who have created art, and it's their opportunity to sell their art at the festival. They also do different types of activations, pen and tattoos, and everything from candle making, just different types of crafts that you might see out and about. They come in. So if you're volunteering and you're there kind of in that 11 to 2 o'clock hour, you're going to see a lot of activity with our vendors and helping them get to where they need to go, because they all have a different spot that they're going to as well. And then also during that time, we will have food trucks come in. Now, a little bit different than last year. Last year, we put all of our food trucks underneath the pavilion because we've grown and our footprint has grown. The food trucks will actually be directly adjacent, right next to the pavilion, in a parking lot. There's a parking lot right next to the park. That we have learned is much easier for food trucks to pull in and to pull out. And the nice thing too is they're able to get there earlier, so if they want to set up earlier and start selling food, that will be available to them. So it will be a little bit different than last year. You saw the food trucks that were in the pavilion. We just kind of changed that footprint a bit. So different work zones. We always have different work zones, and sometimes I might even add a work zone between now and the festival. Ticket takers. We do electronic tickets. They're digital tickets. We bring all of our ticket scanners over to the park. They operate off of the internet, but also sometimes you'll see a paper ticket. Those scan too. If you're a ticket taker, you'll be at the front gate and you will be with other ticket takers, so you're not alone. And then our mobile box office, which has been super busy out selling tickets around the community the past month, our mobile box office will be there to help troubleshoot. So like if you go to scan a ticket and it just won't work, that's what they're there for, and they will help take care of all of that. So that's one of the zones. And we also have wristbands because we're having an express check-in this year. So you'll also be making sure to check wristbands for those folks that purchased the VIP experience. And we will have Kathy is creating directions on all of those different positions. Then we have the game zone. So if you're into games, this would be for you. We have large size yard games, and in the game zone, just imagine tall bowling pins with a really big bowling ball. This is where you can play those type of yard games, and you'll also see a lot of impromptu cornhole tournaments going on during the festival. So you know, you might just have to make sure that, oh, you know, this group's been waiting a while, go on ahead. Everybody's real nice, but there's just a lot of games. So if you're into gaming or yard games, I call it the analog game garden. That would be up for you. And then it takes us to the art zone. The art zone is really where you create. So we have some special local art that will be going on within the art zone, but also the art zone is really where people get into making friendship bracelets, they get into beading bracelets, they make flower crowns, they do temporary tattoos, they do their glitter, they do their tinsel, and if you are interested in working in that area, you're helping keep supplies stocked, you're gonna have people ask you 20 times, how do I look? What do you think? Should I put the purple bead on or should I do this bead? It's all about expression. So if you're really into like making and art and you like to be busy that way and you like interacting with people, then that is going to be more of your fit. And then we have the merch zone. So the merch zone is where we sell our Middle Waves merch. We do have some new merch this year. So we have koozies, Middle Waves koozies. We have slap bracelets, we have stickers, we have t-shirts, all kinds of different Middle Waves merch. But then also all 5 bands are bringing their merch this year. And the way that we do merch is it is a digital system. We sell it through Square, so it's a point of sale system, but it's real easy. If I can do it, anybody can do it because I am not techie whatsoever. But typically you'll work in teams of 3. Depending on how busy it is, we might up that to 4 or 5. I don't know, is there anything that you want to say about the merch zone last year? Was it easy?
Oh, I loved it, yeah.
You loved it.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah,
It was fun.
it is fun. You
It
get
was
to,
easy, yes.
yeah, you get to interact with a lot of people, and it's always fun selling different bands merch. So that's an opportunity. This year, again, we have the food truck zone. The good news is you don't have to cook, you don't have to clean, but with the food truck zone, it's making sure that people can get into the food truck zone, that things are going well. We'll have tables with umbrellas, so if people don't want to take their food back into the pavilion, but would rather sit out there, they can sit in the middle of the food trucks. It's also just checking on the food truck vendors, making sure that they're okay. I will note that we always have an embassy staff person who's a Middle Wave staff person in your same area. So you always have a go-to person that you'll get to know as well. And then that takes us to the VIP zone. The VIP zone's a lot of fun. VIP zone is a little bit different this year in that I decided to create more of a scene within the VIP zone. So we will have a photo op area. That Guitar Exchange is graciously providing different instruments like guitars, and our production company, Force Tech, will have their work cases. And a lot of times, you know, how often is it that you get to take a really cool photo with a really cool guitar and have a really neat backdrop provided to you all within the VIP zone? So we'll have those things going on. We also are doing all of the different zones also within VIP. So that way, if a person has paid for VIP and let's say they brought their children with them, we're gonna have things like design your own show poster. We have really cool Middle Waves coloring pages. We also will be doing the glitter zone within VIP. So they do get more of that exclusivity. Sometimes folks pay for VIP so that they can have a little bit more option for food and drink. That will be happening as well. And we do have local beverage vendors that will be doing tastings within VIP. So if you work in VIP, I have a whole basically script for you where you get to be the VIP concierge. So when the person comes up to you and says, you know what, I and from out of town, and I had decided I don't wanna go home tonight. Where can I stay for the evening? Or, you know what, I'm here for the weekend, what else can I check out while I'm in Fort Wayne? You're gonna have all of that information right there at your fingertips, so you can make sure that they have a great experience while they're visiting us here in Fort Wayne. Because we do have a lot of folks, come from out of town, so that's important. And let me just move this on to the next page. Okay. This just kind of copied funny, so bear with me. On next up, we should have on page 4, that's where we're going, emergency procedures. Cool, calm, ready to lead. So with emergency procedures, what will happen is 2 weeks before the festival, I start getting daily updates from Department of Homeland Security. So everything from, if you wanted to know on June 1st, what is the wind speed at 2:30 p.m., I have it, and they're tracking that for me the entire time. So they will also let you know if there's anything else that's kind of developing in the area. We are living in interesting times, so it's important that we know, just for everybody's safety, what to expect, and I'm getting all of that information. If there's something that I need to get out to you prior to festival day, I am going to get it to Kathy, and Kathy's going to get it out to all of you, okay? Now, what happens if we are at the event and these things happen? Fire. If there was a fire, it's really important that you know when you're at the park where your exits are. So our marketing manager, Carissa, is making sure that every exit in all the areas will have exits, so you know how to safely get out of the park. Because you have this shirt on, guests are going to follow you, okay? It's going to be very busy on that Saturday. So this is what's going on downtown Fort Wayne. We'll have our market that's always here on Bar Street earlier in the day, and that's always really well attended. It's the #1 market in the Midwest. Across the street from Middle Waves will be Arab Fest, and Arab Fest is going to be, they close earlier than us, they close at 7 p.m., but they're going to be in what I call Headwaters West, so they're just across the street, and we are doing some cross-collaboration with Arab Fest, so that's going to be happening downtown. Also happening downtown over at Promenade Park from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. is going to be Electrofest. So at 3 p.m. you will have a silent disco going on over at Promenade, and there will also be different DJs going on at Promenade, and that's with the Riverfront Development. So we got together with Electrofest and Arab Fest and our festival, and we said this is going to be a lot of people downtown Fort Wayne. And the Tour de Fort is also going on that day. So everything's happening downtown, which is great for all of us. But we all got together and we said, you know what, how can we cross-collaborate? So I've been calling it 5 stages downtown one weekend, because I have a stage, Arab Fest has a stage, and there's 3 different areas of Promenade. And really it's also a way for us to test how we will grow Middle Waves in the future. So I also am going to have some volunteers that have graciously said, yes, I will also go over and I will help, you know, promote Middle Waves at Electrofest and help sell tickets. So Electrofest said, come over Middle Waves, you sell tickets at our event for Middle Waves because ours is free, yours is not, and we want to keep the music going. So we're doing that. The woman who runs Arab Fest also has signage that says, hey, Middle Waves is across the street. And then I have signage that says, oh, if you want to go check out Arab Fest, it's across the street this way. So lots of busy traffic. So fire, as far as fire safety knows, we would actually exit out either the front gates or the side gates. in the pavilion, and then our location is actually across the street where Airfest is. That's Headwaters Park, because it gets you away from the pavilion, and you're prepared for that. Again, weather announcements, if it happens during the event, those announcements will be made from the stage, okay? And so then what we would do is, if we had to shelter in place, we would shelter underneath the pavilion. But with having Department of Homeland Security monitor weather that close, I have a great amount of time to get people out and back to their cars. Also, I've been in contact with some alternate locations that if we had to evacuate and we're still close to downtown, you'll have that on a card, so you'll know, like, okay, if there's a tornado warning, we don't have time, this is where we're going, as staff and volunteers. Medical assistance, I have fire marshal medics that will be on site throughout the duration of the festival day, and I will have an emergency first aid tent. So they will have their medic bags that we provide, and they will also be able to call into dispatch in case anybody does have a medical emergency. We will also have an AED on site for anybody that would need, AED, CPR, that sort of thing. So that is taken care of. They also can help you with anything. So if you're starting to feel exhausted from the heat, they would do a quick check right there in the first aid tent. Accidents happen. So if you are in an area and there's an accident, somebody trips and falls down, you want to make sure that you stay with that person and that you notify the staff person that's in your area to get the medic to you to help with any type of accident. We are all wearing the same shirts. So if I'm in an area and you're in an area and I'm assigned to your area as a staff person, I'm going to introduce myself to you. You will know that I am your staff person in that area. I am also, all staff folks are on radio. So that way we can radio to police and fire or our t-shirt security team if needed. Lost person procedure. It can happen. It can happen any age, any demographic. You can have a lost person. So if somebody comes up to you and says, I lost my sister, she's 50 years old, she has dementia, I can't find her, what I need you to do is I need you to keep the person reporting it with you, and then you need to come to one of us that has a radio on, the staff person in your area, and you need to say, this person has reported that they have a lost person. Best thing that you can do is to ask, what's the age, what's approximate height, and really it's shoes. Particularly with children, they will say, they have light up dinosaur shoes. That's going to help us a lot. But what kind of distinguishing thing might they have on them that helps us? What we will do, so if you're working in an area, is we will seal all gates so nobody's coming in or out. So as soon as I know there's a lost person and it's serious, we will not let anybody in or out of the park during that time. So even if it's somebody who's like waiting in line to get their ticket scanned, we're not opening gates. What we do is we have 4 minutes to find that person. If that 4 minutes is up and we have not found said missing person, then that's when we'll call the authorities. So I will have police there, but that's when they're dispatching others, because that's where it's become probably more imminent. It could be somebody that has dementia that's at the festival, or they've been partaking in substances, or it's a lost child. We don't want anybody to walk away with an experience where their person has not been found. So at that point, we have 4 minutes. If we've not found them, then that's when we dispatch and work on that. So biggest thing for you guys is to make sure that you keep that person reporting it with you and you get a staff person, okay? Same thing, if a child walks up to you and says, I can't find my mom, I can't find my sister, keep that child with you, find the staff person, and then we will radio out, we'll seal the gates, same thing. It happens here from time to time, and I can say that in my 7 years of being here, we've only had to actually surpass that 4-minute experience in Call of Duty one time. So we've always been able to kind of, usually they're in the bathroom or, somewhere else. So that's important to know. Parking. So Kathy's gonna send out more information on parking, but I wanna share this with you quickly because we're also gonna send this out. I have 2 different maps that I want to show you. So remember how I said it's gonna be really busy that day for parking. If you look at this map, right here where the snowflake is, well, hopefully there's not snow that day, but that is where the pavilion is. That is Headwaters Park Pavilion. So some of your best parking spots as staff and volunteers are going to be up here on 4th Street where it says it says 20, that's a square. This is a festival parking lot. It is not developed yet, so there's no building on it. It's cleared for festival parking. There will be a sign up that says festival parking. It's free. That is a great space to park because you can get out of your car and you can walk across the street and then come up on the sidewalk and get right to the pavilion. There's also parking garages. So the parking garages are also marked. If you prefer to park in a parking garage, to have your car covered, that's a great spot too. There's also free metered parking, but again, it can be tough. I have some volunteers who say, I'm just gonna take my Uber or Lyft there, or, and that's fine, then you can just pull up right in front of the park. Some people get dropped off, and there is a bike rack, so if you choose to drive your bike, ride your bike or your scooter down to Headwaters, there is a bike rack at the park that you can chain it up. But it is going to be a little bit limited for parking, just because there's so many things going on. So just plan ahead, like if your shift is at 2 o'clock, I wouldn't plan to park at 2 o'clock. I would try to park prior to that so that you can get into the festival quickly. And we'll send that too. And also breaks. So everybody gets a break, and we do give multiple breaks. So if you're in an area working and it's during like when our gates are open to the public, you can count on at least a minimum of 1 10-minute break, and then you'll also get a 20-minute meal break. We provide food, so we'll have food for you. We will also have water, we'll have sodas. Last year we had large Gatorade jugs of like lemonade and water, and also Gatorade. We mix up big things of Gatorade, because if it is hot, even under the pavilion, you still have to maintain your energy level. So we take care of you in that way. And then we'll also, like I said, we'll have food. It will be primarily things that have protein to keep your energy up. We will also have vegan and gluten-free options. We do plan really well also like if there's a dairy allergy or anything of that nature. Now, I will say that volunteers, they will eat, our snacks and our meals and all of that, but also they'll say, you know what, I'm going to take my break and I do want to try out that food truck. So if you do want to try out maybe a different meal and support a local vendor, make sure that you would bring money for that. But other than that, we take care of all of that. We also have a bunk house. We call it the bunk house. It's air conditioned. Now, it's not fancy air conditioning. It's just window air conditioning. But it is a way that you can get away from the crowd to take your break in a cooler area, maybe sit down, eat something, and just generally cool off and take a break that way. And the only people that can access the bunkhouse is staff and volunteers with our t-shirts. Or we do have some, for example, marketing folks that will have credentials on, so that way the general public's not getting into that area. And your staff person in your area will also make sure that you get your breaks. And also we have restrooms for staff and volunteers that are not the porta potties. So For the general public, we do have porta potties and ADA porta potties available, but we will all be able to access private restrooms. And you'll also see where those are on festival day too. So that makes it, again, nice. And hand washing is right there, and no problems that way. Any questions about emergencies, parking, breaks, that sort of thing? Okay. Up next, we have calling off. So I get it, life happens. If you need to call off, you have a couple of options. My email is listed in your packet, as well as my phone number. My phone number comes directly to my cell phone, and my email also just comes directly to my text message. So if you're like on your way and then a life emergency happens, just, take care of your emergency, but then let me know you're okay, Just say, hey, I signed up to volunteer from 5 to 8 p.m. and now, unfortunately, I was in an automobile accident. That's been taken care of, but I'm not going to be able to get down to the park. Biggest thing I want to know is A, you're okay, and B, as soon as you can let me know, that's great, because with volunteers, I always build in extras and floaters. So for volunteers that like more versatility, I will make you a floater, which means you could be doing any of the volunteer opportunities for that day. So if that's more your jam, let me know, because I can certainly utilize help that way. So entering the festival, where do you enter? It's going to be a little bit different than last year. I'm actually going to have you enter at the very front gate at Headwaters Park. So you're going to see a big Middle Waves banner on the fence. It'll say Middle Waves Festival. It's long. In fact, it's the biggest banner in the festival here, world. Not that we compete or anything, but you will see at the main gate, you're going to see above it, it's going to say Welcome to Middle Waves. And then you're going to see where it says the entrances for people coming with tickets. And then directly at that same gate, I have it divided, and you're going to see volunteer entrance. So last year you entered from the side. This year I'm having everybody come in the front. And we will have Kathy or another staff person there who is going to check you in. Kathy works really hard to make sure that you have where you're going and what you're doing. And that's where you're going to get the whole lay of the land for that day. So it's a little bit different. And then exiting, we have everybody exiting out the side of the pavilion. So it's just opposite of what we did last year. I learned a couple of things. So also you'll get a volunteer badge. It reminds you of the different emergency procedures and also where you're going to be stationed for that time. What not to bring. I would suggest not bringing a large bag or purse. I wear like a fanny pack. If you have to bring a book bag and you want to put it in the bunkhouse, that's fine. If you are going to like bring a purse or a bag, you might want one that's just like a crossbody that fits across. But if you don't want to cart something around or you're worried about losing it, I just wouldn't bring anything huge. Outside food and drinks, again, we'll take care of you, so you don't have to bring that. If you do want to bring like an empty water bottle or your favorite cup, you certainly can, because we'll have places that you can just refill, which will make it nice. And then valuables, leave the fancy stuff at home. It's hard when it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm loading out and somebody calls and says, I lost my phone in the grass over here. That makes for a long night. So try to leave anything that you don't, that you're worried about. Try to leave that at home. We will have lost and found. So lost and found will actually get our ticket trailer. So if you find something, you will just take it to the ticket trailer, because that way if the patron comes up to you and says, I lost my favorite pair of earbuds, you can say, you know what, go check the ticket trailer. And that will be well marked. We'll have all of those windows going. know the zones. We will have a really large bar footprint. We have some local vendors that will be at the bar doing tastings as well as bartenders, and they will be checking IDs and they will be making sure that all of that runs smoothly. Also, we'll show you the restrooms and then our art zone, which is the creative litter bar. And then we have the game zone, food truck zone, merch zone, lots of different photo opportunities. We have a welcome tent, ticket trailer. One thing that's also different this year is I do have more tents. Just so for the areas that aren't under the pavilion, there is some shade. So we will have tents. But I will say that like when the sun goes down, it can get a little chilly out there too. So you might want to bring, like a hoodie or a little jacket, because it can just get a little chilly. If you are helping with loadout, you might want, that sweatshirt. So that's up to you. But loadout, as soon as the headliner goes off, that's when we start loading out. So we load out, and my goal is for us to be out of the park by 2 a.m., which would be last year, and that's because German Fest rolls in Sunday morning. So we only have a few hours to get the park ready for the next event. So just some tips, again, arrive 20 minutes early. That's my suggestion. Wear your volunteer tee. If you forget it, we have you covered. Bring your closed-toed shoes or wear your closed-toed shoes. Also, if you are volunteering and you want to see the show, that's what this is all about. So you can do it a couple different ways. I have some volunteers who pick to volunteer during the early shift so they can stay, as a patron and enjoy for the night shift. I have others that just flip-flop. But please know that once you're in and you have your shirt, you're in. So just make sure that you do your shift at whatever time that is, and then enjoy the show. That's what it's all about. And it's going to be a great show. So I would definitely encourage that. Helpful tips Kathy put in there, and she'll keep communication up with you. One thing that we do ask that would be helpful for all of us is if you can, bring your photo ID that day, just so that when we have it in case there was an emergency, we're not going to photocopy it or anything like that, but it's important just to carry some type of photo ID with you. It also, helps us, in the event if something did happen. And other than that, it's about bringing the fun. We're going to work hard, but it really is about having a great festival experience. And don't be afraid to ask questions. If you think of something on your way home tonight and you're like, you know what, I really don't know. My email's in here, Kathy's here, and that's what we're all about. So, questions, concerns? Yes.
Could you say more on the security? Could you say more on the security and how people get in and out?
Yeah. So there's no weapons allowed. So no tasers, no mace, no knives, no guns, no firecrackers. We have our contracted security team, which we utilize here at the embassy for all of our shows. They're going to be doing bag checks at the gate. So people can bring bags, but we're going to be checking every bag that comes in. And then also we have a full security team that will be there that will be walking throughout the festival, like the festival grounds. Also, they will have somebody backstage, and we have different people positioned. And then we also have law enforcement present as well. And I will say that the nice thing about using the security team we utilize here is we know each other, we know the communication flow, and we make sure that artists and volunteers and patrons are safe. Animals, like service animals, are definitely allowed into the building, but if somebody shows up with their, pet boa constrictor, if it's not a service animal, then I'm not going to be able to let that in. and staff would handle that. So like as a volunteer, you wouldn't have to handle maybe those unique situations that could occur. So I'm just using a boa constrictor as an example. It could be a horse, I don't know. But service animals, we have them here, they would be allowed into the festival. It is an all ages show. So, you know, everybody's invited, and last year it was a really, really great time. Other questions?
What are the bands that are playing? What are
Sure.
the bands?
Yeah, so our first band, which is gonna open, is Man of the Flood. They are local, but also regional, Man of the Flood. Our second band is Los Aptos. And they, last year, played Lollapalooza, which is pretty cool. And then our next band is The Paradox, and they're coming to us from Atlanta, Georgia. And then we have Beach Bunny. And then our headliner is Passion Pit. Passion Pit.
Are they local?
No.
No?
Nope, and they actually have a new record coming out, which is very cool. And they have 70 tour dates planned, and we're on the first leg of their tour, which is pretty exciting. Which I'm glad that you asked me about the bands, because back in the windowsill here, I have mini postcards that have all the bands on them. I also have posters, and then I have a list of all the places that we have taken them. And if it's not on that list and you want to take some back to your workplace or somewhere else you volunteer, or your favorite, I don't know, spot that you play pickleball, or your favorite dive bar, wherever it may be, please take those with you. That's, you know, we do a lot of digital marketing, but we still do just like how it was, you know, going to shows back in the day. We're still out postering, we're still out getting postcards and things like that. So all the pictures of the bands are on there too. Yeah. Other questions?
I forget what I chose for my shift.
Sure.
Can I change that or?
Absolutely, yep. Kathy has all of our different shifts and names, so I will make sure that she can bring this around before you leave this evening, and just kind of check in and see if it still works with you, and if not, you can modify it. Yep. You got it, Kathy? You want this one, or? Okay. Yeah, that's all I have, and I just thank you guys for coming out tonight, and you will see you at Little Waves, and you'll get reminders from before. Yeah, thank you.
Substance misuse issues, like, is anybody have any problem?